Welcome to another edition of Tiny Grimes Reviews Set 4. Today we'll be looking at Nekrium in all its majestic glory. So the first card we have is a legend, Soul Reap. Soul Reap is my favorite card in the set. I'm not going to even hedge that a little. I love this card. Now, having said that, have I been able to make it work? No. Have I lost a lot of games with it? Yes. But this card seems busted. I just can't figure out how to break it. And that to me is a good design job right there. When you have a card that like gives that illusion of being broken, but it's not. It seems pretty well balanced. You have to put work into it to get it to work. But I feel like being able to steal your opponent's creature is the worst possible scenario for your opponent, right? So you go, removal spell, I get your guy. There is no better card than that, if you can make it work. So the question is, how many reducer cards you have to play? What do you have to play? Direhound got weakened a little bit, so he's a little bit worse. You can't loop him from the graveyard anymore. If you could, I think Grave Pacting, Direhounds, and Soul Reaping would be the whole deck. Like, that would be the deck, and it would be amazing. That's been taken away, thankfully. So we're left with things like, do you play it out of zombies, and you run the Dark Shaper, and then Halves Race Will, so then you basically have two cards that remove guys. I tried that. It didn't work very well. I'm still working on this, basically trying every method of doing this. I tried a Stasis Warden deck. I've tried a million billion things. I'm still working at it, but it looks like they did a really good job making that number just low enough to where it's really hard to use. I mean, you can use wildly inefficient things like Soul Reaper and then steal a guy, and it feels amazing. I've done it. It's the greatest feeling ever. But then you're playing Soul Reaper in your deck, and you're kind of sad that you're doing that. But so the bottom line is, if this card is good, it's bad for the game good. But right now it seems to be well designed. I'm still trying to break it. If I do break it, you'll be the first to know. Sith of I call it Chyron, but apparently it's Chyron, is amazing. Flat out amazing. Being able to reduce everything by 2 and buff your guys by 2 is bonkers with breakthrough guys. So this is one of the reasons why the Wagyu deck is so good right now. Because you can put any number of guys, whether it's Wagyu, whether it is Oros, buff them with this card and go to the races. So especially, let's say they have a whole board of level 2 guys. 5 guys. You reduce them all by 4. Now they can't really kill much. And you just picked up 20 attack for your Oros, who has breakthrough, and you have Wagyu on the board. Boosh! That's going to be amazing. You're going to get just an absolutely giant guy. And you just gained a lot of health and did a lot of damage. And there's so many other guys to put this on. Gargoyle, remember how hard he was to kill? Yeah, now he has enormous attack as well as being hard to kill. Thundersaur is the guy I'm trying to work this on as well. I mean, if you get a Thundersaur growing on your own without even having to take damage, they can't ignore him anymore. It's a really great card. The problem is the level 3 is kind of garbage. You get tremendous value out of 1 and 2, and then 3 is kind of a womp womp. I mean, you can get a huge guy, and then they just block him and kill him. And you're like, oh. This card, I think, should have had breakthrough. Like, if I were to remake the set, I would just take Wagyu, pull breakthrough off of him, and put it on Chyron. Because he doesn't grow. You have to one-shot at him being really big. They're probably still going to kill him. At least then he can do some damage on the way out. But maybe it's an intentional balancing thing because 1 and 2 are too strong, and it's a way to balance that to where you don't actually really want to get to the level 3. When you draw the level 3, you're like, ugh, I got the level 3 of this card. Why couldn't I still have the level 2 of this card? Alright. Soul Scourge Grimgaunt. I think this is a more reasonable way to build Grimgaunts, but it's bad. You really have to build the right deck to be able to exploit this guy, or just have that magical Christmas land scenario where all the moons line up properly and you just go, Soul Scourge, he's enormous. If that happens, you're the man, and your Soul Scourge will probably win, or at least do a lot of damage. The problem is it doesn't normally happen unless you can go like Phytobomb into him, and then you're playing bad cards to do that. So I feel like you have to work really hard to make him work, And right now, I just don't think that's viable. He could be good sometime in a slightly different card pool, 1 or 2 cards different. But right now, I'd have to say he's not that good. Sorrow Maiden is a card I've seen a bunch of people play, like especially if you're going to play Soul Reap and you're going to do all the attack reduction. I've seen people playing this card. I don't like this card. I mean, it's basically like a Brood Queen that does not provide offspring, that doesn't kill everything. It just kind of kills a couple things. I mean, it's okay. Like the positive of the card is it's not level gated, it's just attack gated. So if you can build a whole deck around reducing your opponent's guys like you would with Soul Reap, Race Will, you have this extra card that can help out with that. Now, if this was a zombie, this card would be awesome. As a human, I don't think so. I think it's a fragile card. It's probably going to die before it gets a lot of value. Maybe it kills the guy. Quite possibly it doesn't. I'd almost rather play Cull. I realize Cull isn't repeatable, but I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of this card. I've seen people use it, but I've never seen anyone actually use it effectively. Alright. Portal Shade. You gain a rank, put a random creature that was destroyed this game into one of your available spaces at random. This card, to me, is awful. If I wanted to do that, I would play Varna's Pact and have it level into, multiple guys and actually know that it's going to go off. This, you get a reasonable body. The level 1 is fine. The level 2 is good. The level 3 is kind of blah. If the bodies were bigger, this card would be really good. It's that interesting card that's tough. The rank up mechanic cards are in general bad unless they're really good cards on their own. You just can't count on the rank up element. This is why something like I can't even remember her name. The Utera chick who, when you rank up, buffs you. She's cool. She's good, but she's a rank up, so she doesn't see play. I think he fits into that category. I don't think he'll see play. Howl of Zith is a pretty cool card. It's terrible on level 1. It's not that great on level 2. On level 3, it's 12 direct damage. That is a giant spell that you never had to level. You just go, bam, 12 damage, and I gain 12 health. Now, if you're running a life gain deck, it's really good. Something like Wagyu becomes huge off of this thing really fast. But just the spell on its own, I've been more and more tempted to just toss one of them into a Nekrium deck as a closing spell. I've played quite a few life gain games, and this spell, just the spell has won a number of them, just doing 12 damage and winning. So I'm not sure that I love the card, but it's pretty good, and it's been useful in life gain. It's utterly critical. Like there's not a lot of cards that are more critical than this card in the life gain deck. Okay. Yeah, and it's a good point also. I keep forgetting. Games can go beyond rank 3. So if you get to rank 5, this card is kind of insane. 20 damage right to the face. And I gain 20 health. That can be really backbreaking, especially in draft. Alright. Which by the way, draft goes really long. When Felstrider is destroyed, put a 4 attack, 3 health zombie into one of your available spaces at random. Okay. I mean, this is what it is. It's like all the other cards that spawn other terrible cards behind. It's okay, I suppose. It won't see any play in Constructed, I don't think. The one positive of that card is that out of all those types of cards, it works best with Doom Rider. So if Doom Rider had not gotten nerfed, this card might have seen play. Because the problem with Doom Rider is he wants to jump into that lane, and if you play something like Corpulent Shambler, when he dies, Corpulent Shambler respawns in the lane. Doom Rider can't go into that lane. With this card, Doom Rider could jump into the lane, but Doom Rider's been nerfed. I don't think it's quite as worth going all in on Doom Rider as it once was. He's still a fine card, but he's not the card he was before. Alright, Calamity Fiend. Demon. When he comes into play into an empty lane, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2. So, I haven't actually tried him yet. His body's not that great, but again, he's like this underdrop series, this like a new underdrop series that can function even on level 1. He's like a Dire Hound only worse, but he doesn't come out of your deck at least. I don't know. I don't think he's good enough to see play in Constructed. I think there's a number of cards I would play over him, but you never know. Maybe in like a Soul Reap deck that actually wants to like have every guy come in and reduce them to get Soul Reap off as often as possible. Maybe, but I don't think so. All right, Abyssal Brute is a guy that I have not tried, but I got to admit, I've got some thinking that I want to try this guy. So he's very interesting in that he just has to be on the board, and when people jump into the side lanes, they get buffed. So you could just throw him right into the side lane to buff him. And if he has move, then that works all the better. You just move him out of the way. But it might be even better to do something like play him in another lane and then just have people cycling in and out of the side lanes. So if you're giving people like Gargoyle buffs and Uriel buffs and the Aeronaut buffs and Regenerate and they have armor, I don't know. Like, that could be good. You might even find a way to make Ironbeard reasonable. Giving him +1/+1 and Regenerate, he's going to be pretty hard to kill. And then if you have stuff like Aeronaut in the middle to buff him even further. I don't know. This is a card that on the surface is not that great looking, but perhaps in a heavy move deck where creatures can just kind of like cycle these back and forth, he could be pretty good. I'm definitely going to try him at some point. And he is a zombie, so he has that inherent synergy with zombie decks. And zombie decks are desperately needing good zombies. So even like with Zrace numbers are just on the cusp of being decent. And maybe the Brute pushes him over. Like, there's a chance that maybe he's decent. You put a Darkshaper down. It's a 5/7 on level 1. Does that recoup enough of the level 1 problems to make him seem decent? I don't know. But I'm definitely going to try a deck with him. I've been enamored with other decks. I haven't really gotten to him yet. But I could see him being a lot better than he looks like he would be. Perdition Guard. Garbage card pretty much. It'll be a draft card that'll be one of those cards that you can try to level and get value out of its level 2. In Constructed, it won't see play. If it was a zombie, maybe. But it has to fit in a very specific deck where you're able to level him, and then you're leveling him to get to the level 2, which is good, but the level 3 is back to being not that great. If the level 3 was amazing, then you'd see that as a definite playable card. Necro Flay. So here's a card, along with Animatize, play them both, play Soul Reap, play the Max Draw Engine, and womp womp womp, you could get like 1,000,000 reduction in one turn. Is that feasible? Probably not. I have actually played Necro Flay in a few decks, and it levels really, really, really well. -11/11 at level 3 is kind of bonkers. 11/11 in Soul Reap means you're stealing almost every card. If you have both level 3s in your hand, that means anything 17 attack or under you steal. Actually, I think Soul Reap might go up to 8. That'd be 19 and under. That's pretty much every card in the game other than like an Iron Maiden. So it can be pretty powerful. I've used it. I've liked it. I don't think it goes into every deck. It really does well in the draw deck. But we'll have to see. Alright. Misery Demon. Deal 3 damage to an opponent, and you get 3 health. This is a card I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen in Wagyu decks yet. I think the reason is because Wagyu decks are mostly running Sludge Belcher, and so they want to block. And so you don't get this ability unless you're empty laning, and you don't really want to empty lane a 5/2. It's a pretty well-balanced card, because this card desperately wants to block and get value out of its 5 attack before its 2 defense gets exploited. But if you do that, then you don't get its really amazing ability. So I haven't used him yet. I foresee a deck coming about where he may have quite a bit of value. He doesn't level that well with his effect. If his effect leveled and scaled better, he'd be really good, probably too good. With the scaling of his effect, I think he's probably not that playable. There may be a deck where he becomes playable. Certainly if there's a demon deck that arises, and again, if he were a zombie, you know, he may see play. Or Abomination, or something like that. Infernal Visage. Each creature you control in a side lane gets +2/+2 and regenerate. So this is like the Brute, only substantially worse. That's the Brute in spell form, and as I've said before, investing multiple spells into creatures is really, really dangerous. There's a lot of removal. You're basically asking to get punished hard. In draft, this might work. In constructed, that's not going to work. We've got the Dirge Banshee. When she enters the field or moves into the lane, if there's another creature, the creature gets -2/+2. Oh, -2 and she gets +2. So this is like a weaker version of the Frost whatever card. It's a spirit, not very good trait. It becomes a 4/6. This card is kind of blah. It's kind of like Uriel, only substantially worse. So I don't really think this card is going to see play again. Maybe in a deck that wants just to go all in on Soul Reap. Maybe it's going to be valuable. I really don't think so, though. I just don't see this card being great. Crypt Slime. When it's destroyed, put a 1/1 Oozling into the lane. Again, it's okay, but like I'd rather play a Sludge Belcher. Sludge Belcher has similar numbers. Even if you're not over 100 and you just get the one guy, that's fine. I mean, I guess it's not a Nekrium card. Playing it in UN, maybe this goes in a mono Nekrium deck. I don't really think this is that valuable. I don't think these are sort of like the standard numbers. I don't think standard numbers are good if you don't get anything out of it. Like Oros has standard numbers, but his effect is amazing, and even he wasn't seeing play until the life gain deck really took off. So I feel like this card just isn't going to have a great place in constructed. Now in draft, that's a whole nother game, but I just don't think it'll have a place in constructed. All right, well that wraps up my take on the Nekrium cards from set 4. So stay tuned and check out the link below for the other factions I reviewed. See you next time.